Man, have you seen the chaos blowing up outside Chase Center lately? It's like some twisted mixtape of Warriors Madness fans yelling at the top of their lungs. Memes flooding every corner of social media, radio callers straight losing. Their minds wondering if this all means the Dynasty's finally cracking for good. I swear, it's like every season since We Believe has been a roller coaster ride that just never stops throwing corkscrews. And now here we are again, caught right in the middle of a hot mess that screams, "Here we go again." It's that classic Golden State soap opera, the whispers, the rumors, the desperate what-ifs. And this time, it's all swirling around Jonathan Kuminga like a tornado in a teacup, with the whole fan base holding its breath and waiting for the inevitable explosion. Who's going to be sold out next? Which beloved warrior is going to get tossed aside because money talks louder than loyalty? I mean, come on. Haven't we seen this movie before? Remember back in the day when we somehow went 73-9, that glorious heartbreak, and still, just a heartbeat away from infinite glory? Or that gut punch of KD slipping out the back door with a silent goodbye, leaving us wondering if Steve Kerr's smile hit 1,000 curses. And now, here we are, Kuminga's contract talks dragging on like some bizarre cliffhanger, as if the front office is playing chess while Dub Nation's on the edge of a knife, all while the media breathes fire saying, sell him, trade him, dump him like it's open season on loyalty. It's déjà vu, isn't it? The same old story of chic betrayal wrapped in corporate fancy talk. We don't want to exceed our offer, they say, as if $45 million over 2 years suddenly became a death sentence for the Warriors' dreams. Come on, the front office acting like some penny-pinching library clerks while the luxury tax looms over their heads like the Grim Reaper. What kind of dynasty does this to its own rising star? Brandon Pajimski steps onto the microphone, cool, as ever, telling the guys it's media noise, a story to sell. But can you really believe that? Because it sure doesn't feel like just noise when your boy Jake's career is stalling on paperwork, and suddenly every other move the Warriors want to pull is frozen in amber, a victim of this Kuminga standstill. The disrespect is thick. The fans are restless. You've got to wonder, is this just about saving some bucks on the luxury tax, or a deeper conspiracy? Like, are the owners bluffing, playing chicken with their own future for some quick buck, throwing false hope to keep masses quiet? I mean, wasn't the whole foundation of Dub Nation built on heart, on brotherhood? What kind of ruthless business deal sells Kuminga and Pajimski short to the point where the locker room's spilling secret disappointment? But the official line is, we all want him here, like a rehearsed soap opera script. The irony stings worse than that Game 6 against the Cavs in 2016. And listen, here's the kicker no one's really talking about. This little contract kerfuffle isn't just a delay. It's a block, a wall slamming down right in the middle of the team's momentum, freezing any chance at forward motion this offseason. Forget the glamorous headlines about new signings. Forget the hype Golden State stuck. Fans are left, biting their nails, wondering if the front office is just going through the motions while the real power struggles play out behind closed doors. You want to talk about existential dread? Steph Curry watching his younger wing fumble over money and contracts. While the fans yearn for that same spark that lit up the Oracle back in the day, it's a painful déjà vu that's gnawing at every Dub Nation heart. Are we watching a dynasty crack? Or worse, are we standing by powerless as it crumbles piece by piece because some suit in the back office thinks dollar signs trump loyalty? But don't get it twisted. I'm not ready to wave the white flag just yet. Because here's the wild truth lurking beneath the surface. Brandon Pajimski and Jonathan Kuminga, they might be the villains of this story on paper, the supposed sold-out characters cast by the rumor mills, but the real twist is they're not going anywhere. Not yet. The team has their backs, their hearts still in Golden State. So let the media keep spinning their toxic tailies. Let the conspiracy theorists light their bonfires. Because at the end of the day, Podziemski stands firm saying it's all just noise. We want Kuminga here, and that's gospel from the locker room. If this is the betrayal we feared, turns out it's more like a masquerade let the doubters believe the sellout story. Just don't blink, because this saga is far from over. And if the brass handles this with even more cold calculus, wait until you hear which superstars' name is quietly making rounds as the next sacrifice on the altar of profit and power. Is this the breakup of a dynasty? Or just the calm before the storm things falling apart to build something crazier, something we can't even imagine yet? We've ridden high on miracles and swallowed hard at heartbreaks, but this feels like another crossroads. So, Dub Nation, what's your take? Because the storm's just getting started, and if you think you're done feeling betrayed, just wait. Drop your thoughts below. This war, it's only just begun. How much more of this can Dub Nation stomach before the entire Golden State facade crumbles into dust? Hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss the next meltdown in Warriors drama. Because what's about to drop is not just another headline. It's the raw, merciless truth behind the curtain that's been poisoning the very soul of this franchise. You think KD's departure was the ultimate betrayal? Please, that was just the opening act of a tragic comedy that's now spiraling out of control. And the real villain pulling the strings is far uglier, puppeteering a nightmare that's suffocating Steph Curry and every ounce of loyalty Dub Nation ever bled. This isn't just front office fumbling or bad luck. It's a calculated unraveling, a destruction of legacy propelled by ownership greed and backroom betrayals that blow the 73-9 collapse out of the water. Remember how we all believed in the Warriors' invincibility, how a decade of blood, sweat, and rings was supposed to cement the dynasty for the ages? Well, guess what those rings feel like shackles now? Because while the fans chant and cheer, the higher-ups have quietly decimated the very culture that made this team a beacon for greatness. Kevin Durant? The drama around his exit hurt, sure, but it exposed a deeper rot, the reckless ambition and the utter disregard for player trust that now defines the Golden State front office's playbook. The whispers we thought were rumors are growing into a roar. The same executives who hailed the Warriors as family turned their backs, cutting deals behind closed doors, trading away hope like it was a commodity, putting short-term cash grabs over the soul of the game. And who's left to pick up the pieces? Steph Curry, the beating heart of Dub Nation, wedged into a corner by a front office that keeps wringing every last drop of goodwill out of him, asking for nightly miracles while the scaffolding around him thins to air. You can feel it even before tip-off, the way the arena noise swells on his introductions like a prayer, the way teammates glance at him in huddles as if he's both point guard and paramedic, the only one trusted to resuscitate. A season on life support. It's become muscle memory, Steph saving them from their own austerity, only this time the margin for error is the size of a needle's eye. We're watching a once-generational system coaxed into a sketch of itself, the guts replaced by branding. Dex, the connective tissue traded for flexibility that never seems to flex when it matters. And yes, the chemistry feels brittle. Draymond's fuse and Kerr's sermonizing tension that once powered accountability now play like an old married argument replayed in public, each side retreating to the parts of themselves that won banners and now protect pride. The trust that used to be sacred, forged in Oracle's echo and the chaos of those strength in numbers nights, feels contaminated by 1,000 micro slights, rotations that don't make sense, young guys yanked after one mistake, vets promise roles that dissolved by Christmas, and a two timelines philosophy that turned into no timeline anyone can recognize. We propped the whole memory palace up on Clips Game 6 clay, the 73-9 sprint, the confetti on Cleveland's floor, because that's what keeps the present from buckling under its own contradictions. But here's the thing nobody wants to say out loud in a building lit by luxury boxes. The insidious influence of ownership's priorities isn't just about a couple of iffy trades or missing on mid-level signings. It's the slow-motion outsourcing of the Warriors' identity. We used to be a basketball cult with a value statement. Defend, share, move, believe. Now we get mood board versions of that creed while the league snickers. The Lakers gloat from across the state line, the Clippers smirk from their desalinated yacht, and the crosstown set who never forgave Oakland's. Exodus poke at the empty seats in the lower bowl when Tuesday rolls around. The harshest truth cuts clean. The hierarchy has negotiated away tomorrow in installments, flipping patience for presentability, mortgaging cap sanity for sugar-high optics, then preaching fiscal discipline once the second apron clamps. Shut like a vice! It isn't misfortune. It's a clinical rebrand disguised as inevitability, a coup executed in suits and spreadsheets. Squeeze the lifeblood from the Dynasty, hire a PR team to frame it as evolution, and hope the Curry miracle machine hides the rot another year. And we still act confused about the fan base's mood swings? Of course timelines are flooded with heartbreak and fury. Of course that roar has shape-shifted into something hollower loud when Steph catches fire, hollow when the rest of the possession looks like a committee meeting. What's the plan when the magician decides the show's over? What happens if Steph, who has carried an entire generation's joy like a lantern through the fog, finally decides that the organization no longer deserves the light? Don't scoff. Franchise legends don't usually quit, but they do. Withdraw, they do calculate. They do withhold their last perfect years if the trade is hope for exhaustion. Imagine the seismic shock if Curry's steadfast loyalty fractures, not with drama, just with the quiet clarity of a champion unwilling to cosplay contention. That tremor would rattle the Bay harder than the KD swerve ever did, because this would be deeper, more personal, less mercenary, and more moral. You can feel the precursors. We've seen this film spool up, the we believe rise and fade, the windows that snap shut when unchecked egos and corporate logic crowd the locker room, the way one bad punch, literal or metaphorical, can crack a dam you thought was reinforced. With titanium, it doesn't take much. A summer of penny pinching disguised as prudence, a draft night justified by culture rather than need. A midseason, we like our guys, presser that lands like a white flag. Meanwhile, the rivals post stability and vision like sponsored content. They outline roles. They overpay purposefully. They talk about identity with fewer adjectives and more actions. In that mirror, we look like a dynasty gaslighting itself talking. Rings while chasing margins. Preaching joy while soldering smiles to brand guidelines. Asking Steph to summon 2016 in a 2026 world. Curry stands there, the eye of the storm, making peace with contradictions that would break lesser stars. He has always been equal parts artist and adult. He knows gravity, pacing, how to metabolize pressure into grace. But even the most generous genius has thresholds. Ask yourself the ugliest question. Is the organization betting that his goodness is infinite? That the cachet of light years never expires? Because if this is how they treat the living legend death by 1,000 cap realities, public compliments followed by private belt tightening, what happens when the next star, the supposed heir, wants proof that sacrifice flows both ways? Picture a hellscape where rings are no longer goals but incidental casualties of power plays, where patience is what you sell season ticket holders while you renegotiate another sponsorship. On the mezzanine, maybe you don't need data to sense it, just a memory. Remember Oracle's throat when a 10-0 run felt inevitable the second Steph crossed half court? That sound is different now. Chase is gorgeous, no doubt, but the roar often needs a reason. It has to be willed into being by Steph's shot making, rather than grown organically from defensive stops and joyful ball movement. And if you're honest, you've clocked the body language curve's long stares after a needless turnover. Draymond's orbit tightening when calls don't go his way. Young dudes navigating that tightrope between be yourself and be perfect. Culture used to cover sins. Now it feels like a policing tool. Play the right way has mutated into fit the template we'll redefine next month. And yet, because this is Steph, the improbable remains possible on any random night. He can still drag a C- roster to an A- outcome through sheer audacity 30-footers that turn bad sets into art, off-ball sprints that shame defenders, into mistakes, leadership that radiates through a huddle like a shared heartbeat. That's the seductive danger. Greatness becomes an alibi. The front office points to the miracles and calls them strategy. Why spend into pain, they whisper, when the walking algorithm of hope is still outputting 3065? Never mind that the league adapted ages ago, that switching schemes have sanded off the easy edges, that size and athleticism eat cute lineups for lunch in May. When the bill comes due in the second round, audacity needs reinforcements. Greatness needs gravity on both ends. So we reach for the last same path, ruthless honesty. Stop pretending the brand is the plan. Either go all in on Steph's twilight and accept the tax, the risk, the aging curve, or say the quiet part loud. We're retooling and take the shrapnel like adults. What breaks a fan base isn't bad news. It's being treated like marks, sold a contender while delivered a commemorative tour. If the choice is to honor the core, then honor it with more than speeches. Get the length, get the rim pressure, get the wing who eats minutes without leaking points. Stop drafting for public relations and start trading for fits that unlock the only thing you can't manufacture: Curry time. If the choice is to pivot, then pivot without euphemism. Let the man breathe. Don't ask him to front another vibes-based reset while calling it competitive. There's also the Kerr-Draymond axis nobody dares diagram publicly. It was the soul of this era, a demanding, self-correcting system. But the gravitational pull of that partnership has shifted. Accountability without renewal curdles into resentment. When the teacher's voice becomes the soundtrack to every mistake, the kids stop hearing the lesson. That's how you lose identity, not in one spectacular meltdown, but in a series of tiny accommodations to comfort. Minutes given because of seniority. Schemes unbent because the vocabulary is familiar. Young talent half developed because the on-ramp ends at "don't screw up." Then June arrives, and you ask why there's no one ready to run a different race. It's not mystery. It's maintenance deferred. And through it all, Steph does the impossible human thing. He refuses bitterness. He keeps choosing joy because that's his code, not a marketing bullet. He bridges eras, swallows egos, becomes translator and thermostat and savior, depending on the quarter. But even saints make boundaries. Imagine him in a summer exit meeting, looking around the table where the words are clever and the spreadsheets are tight, and asking the simplest question: are we serious? If the answer is another ode to optionality, another treatise on flexibility with no defined target, he may not bolt, but he could opt for smaller rebellions, less tolerance for lip service, more leverage, a request that is not a request. The kind of nudge that makes executives finally choose, because make no mistake, this is a choosing season. Choose to respect a once-in-a-century player with more than thank yous. Choose to stop hiding behind the new CBA like it's a natural disaster rather than a constraint that other ambitious teams have learned to navigate. Choose to stop pretending that internal development is a plan when the internal environment treats mistakes like sins. Choose to either put real adults on the wing and in the front court who can survive playoff math, or admit you're building a museum exhibit and let the visitors take pictures. And if they don't choose, if the ledger wins the argument again, if the brand carries the day, if the cap becomes a shield rather than a puzzle, then the slow bleed continues. The public gets fed behind-the-scenes mini-docs about process, and Steph keeps papering over fissures until one day the shot rims out and the arena learns what silence sounds like when it's not sacred, but spent. That's the apocalypse nobody wants to name. Not that Curry leaves, but that he stays and the organization mistakes his loyalty for infinite consent. I keep thinking about Oracle nights, the way regulars knew the ushers' names. The way the team felt borrowed by the people, not the other way around. Chase can be that theater. It flashes that soul when the defense connects and the ball hums. But it cannot become a showroom for nostalgia. Either we risk again, or we rehearse the end in front of season ticket holders who paid for a parade and got a TED Talk on fiscal prudence. You can't sell joy on layaway dot, so here's the spine chill no one will put on a billboard. If ownership keeps prize-fighting the payroll while sermonizing about culture, if the brain trust chooses optics over outcomes one more time, the dynasty won't explode, it will erode. Great walls don't fall in a single clash. They crumble rock by rock, speech by speech, discount by discount. And all we'll have left is the highlight reel. And a brand manual dot is a Warriors fan who's lived the miracles and the heartbreaks, who still reflexively stands up when Steph's in motion before the ball even leaves his hands. I can't shake the fear that we're at a hinge, either the end of everything we built or the twisted beginning of something that wears the jersey. Without carrying the soul, the pain is raw. It feels like we're watching the dynasty bleed out in slow motion. And the worst part is how normal it's being made to look just business, just the CBA, just the cycle. No, it's choices, it's courage or comfort. It's whether the people pulling the strings remember that the strings are attached to living, breathing greatness, not a quarterly report. Because if this is really the plan to let Steph last, brilliant years carry water for corporate caution, then say it. And if it isn't, then prove it. Put your money and imagination where your slogans are. Show the locker room that belief isn't a poster, it's a purchase. And show the legend that the organization he carried will carry him back one more time into a spring that could still belong to Dub Nation.